I want to quickly move over here to the final injury report. I think we both did shows on this the other day. They've given us injury reports every day, as they always do, and there's a new thing every single time. The latest thing that's happening right now in terms of the injury report is that Avonte Maddox is officially out, which should shock absolutely nobody. No one in this live stream is going to be shocked that Maddox is out.
Right.
But they didn't put him on injury reserve, Bleeding Green Nation says, and so maybe he can come back for the Super Bowl or the NFC title game. We will see.
Right.
And then, of course, they talk about Gardner Johnson being in the slot. No shocker there. Everybody else is going to play. In terms of the Giants, everyone's going to play for them. A little bit more banged up, I'd say, than Philadelphia. I mean, talk about a couple of these guys who are dealing with some lower body injuries. Azeez Ojulari, their pass rusher, he's probably going to be on a pitch count based on everything I've heard with the quad injury. But both these teams are very healthy. Besides Maddox being out, which official they did, these are two very healthy football teams.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for the most part, it's going to be real interesting to see how Lane Johnson plays through the pain, because I think that's a big deal. If he can play at a high level, this offensive line is just so much better when he's on the field.
I think we're going to find out really quick if he's going to be able to play or not. If he can't play, it'll be like one series and he'll be like, guys, I can't do this. And they'll walk out Driscoll. And
he'll pull Jason Peters. That's what Peters does.
Let's talk about Daniel Jones running for a second, because this is fascinating to me. I mean, everybody, you talk about national media, Daniel Jones running the football, did it a bunch against the Vikings, 700 yards rushing. They utilized them very well. Have we played a quarterback this year that was really good running the football? The only one I can think of besides Daniel Jones, once, is Kyler Murray, and Kyler really didn't run around.
Justin Fields.
Oh,
Fields
you're right. You're right.
I think we've given up a lot of yards, and then you had the New Orleans Saints game with what's his face.
15 for 95 for Fields there, and then boy, I've just blotted out that Saints game from my memory. I didn't even remember that. Ethan had 14 for 46 on that one, and then I don't think Kyler did much in that one. That was so long ago. What did Kyler do? No. Kyler was 4 for 42. So really, it was just Justin Fields, and I would put Justin Fields on a much different rushing level than Daniel Jones. I think they utilize him well, but that goes to the question of, how does Gannon play this in terms of a defensive, scheming?
Well, that's
it's a lot more.
I had a video on this today because I call it the Jonathan Gannon theory, because all season long I've been told, get Jonathan Gannon to the playoffs and then he's going to unleash an aggressive defense. And I've been hearing it all year. I want to see it happen. But I do think that they need to be careful how they play Daniel Jones, because I thought in that Minnesota game, I thought that was his best game of his career. His decision-making on when to go was really good. And Minnesota doesn't like to blitz. Sometimes they play that like soft blanket like us. And I think if we play that way, we're going to get killed. I think you need to let Slay and Bradbury play man-to-man on these receivers. Maybe you want to spy Jones, and then I say you gotta go at him a little bit more, because if you play the way Minnesota played last week, he's going to do the same thing, and I think that will be a problem. I don't want to see 3rd and 8 Daniel Jones converts with his feet. I think you got to challenge those receivers, play a man, and I kind of feel like we are going to see a little bit different defense. I have a feeling, maybe I've heard this enough, I kind of believe that Gannon's going to unleash this defense a little bit. I do.
It's a crazy thought process to think that a defensive coordinator would hold it all off for the playoffs. But with the way the Eagles season went, you could totally see him being like, when they got to 9 wins, going, hey, I can totally put this in just chill mode because we're going to be the number 1 seed, and then we'll bring it all out for the playoffs. I can see it. I mean, I hope you're right, honestly, because if it is 38 and Daniel Jones runs like crazy, we're going to be, pulling all the hair off of our head. It's going to be crazy.
The thing is with Gannon is that, like, and people always want to tell me his statistics. Look at the defensive statistics. Look at the stats. And I always say this: if he was more consistent and be aggressive earlier and longer, the statistics would have been even better. Because he even admitted, if I didn't play Hassan Reddick in pass coverage as much, he would have 25 sacks. He said that. To me, that's crazy. Admit.
It's like, it's not like Hassan Reddick's this great guy in pass coverage, right? He does it when he has to, and that's it.
Yeah, give me the 25 sacks.
Tricky says, I love the Eagles. If you say the Cowboys are bad, I will give you $5. Okay, the Cowboys are bad. There you go. We'll see if that happens. Nobody wanted T.Y. Hilton. That's why he was available. T.Y.'s been okay. He's been at least serviceable overall in terms of.
We had one play.
Third and
30.
Third and 30.
But
Weapon X says, "Where's Joey?" I don't think Joey's going to make it. I haven't heard from him.
I haven't. I thought he was. I thought last week we said that we were all doing it, so I thought he was going to be here. I haven't talked to him though. So
maybe we win. We do it all next week. You never know. You never know how it works.
Yep.
There's someone in here who's a Cowboy fan. They said T.Y. Hilton's better than Devonta Smith. Okay, that's funny. Eagles are winning the New York Giants.
Go do some more drugs.
Sydney family says run the ball and use Goddard more. That's the big key here. I could see Goddard going absolutely crazy. That was the one part of the Viking offense that worked really well. I can't seem to figure out, going back and watching the highlights, if they just did such a good job on Justin Jefferson, or if the Vikings just were content with not forcing the ball to Justin Jefferson last week and just going with Hockenson, because Hockenson balled out. But the idea that the corners of the Giants were good enough to lock down Justin Jefferson, to me, blows my mind. I'm just not buying that. I just don't buy it.
I was told Adoree Jackson's better than Darius Slay.
Or you told
and James Bradbury this week, and he's going to shut down AJ Brown. And my answer is this: okay, he shuts down AJ Brown. Who's gonna deal with Devonta Smith? How are you going to stop Devonta Smith? So good luck with that.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Isaiah Hodgins, fascinating to me. Him and Slayton have been they've been decent. I mean, Hodgins was 8 for for 105 last week.
Yeah, he's been good.
I don't see how Slay doesn't work him. I don't see how Bradbury had kind of a quiet couple of games against the Giants this year. Didn't have a pick like we were all expecting. Maybe this is the Bradbury game where he absolutely, goes crazy.
I would love to see Bradbury pick 6 and seal this whole thing. That would be great.
Did you see Wink Martindale's comments on saying that Boston Scott was not the Giants killer? That was good.
Yep,
I really appreciate him saying that. That was really nice.
Yeah,
like
I have a prediction that he's going to have a kickoff return for a touchdown.
You think so?
I believe Scott returns one for a touchdown. Yep.
When was the last time we had a kickoff return for a touchdown?
I want to say Wendell Smallwood is my guess.
How about that? I wonder if I can Google it.
I think versus Washington. I would say punt return would be regular, but I think Smallwood.
What does this say? Got 1 touchdown, a kick return versus the Vikings on October 13th, 2016.
That was
I don't even
Sproles.
remember who that was.
That would have been.
This is someone just took on Josh Huff. Man, Josh Huff. Think about that. Back in 2017, forgot about
Josh
him.
Puff.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Well,
that's what it says here. Last kickoff return and a touchdown in the game was 10/23/2016. Doesn't say who it was.
I don't even remember that.
Can you imagine if Boston Scott did return one back for a touchdown at the Link? It's going to be crazy. It's going to be insane.
I feel like it's going to happen. That's one of my hot takes.
This is probably the one week where both of us would be fine with a couple of Boston Scott goal line carries. We're always so infuriated. At least I am. Whenever it's like whenever it's Kenneth Gainwell on 3rd down and 1. It's just Boston Scott. That's fine. Because a couple of big runs, 10, 20, 30 yards. Again, the crowd goes nuts. And we saw what happened back in 2017. When this crowd gets insane, it's like, it's a whole different experience. I don't think teams fully realize it. Like, there are a couple of really big stadiums in the National Football League that get pretty crazy. And it's like, whoa, this is a lot. You think about the Superdome. You think about the Chiefs place. The Link is very much underrated whenever it's cold outside. It's a big-time playoff game, and everyone is going absolutely nuts. And if you're Daniel Jones and you get behind, pick 6 then happens, strip sack from Reddick then happens, and this game just spirals out of control really quick, and it gets really ugly like the NFC title game did.
I could live with that. I could totally live with that.
Hey, here's a good comment. Brandon said, what's yours and Philly 500's favorite Eagles versus Giants moment? I'll go first. Favorite moment for me was the Michael Vick comeback with obviously the punt return from Deshaun Jackson. But I was living in Florida. I was watching at home, and I got so mad because we were losing that I stormed out of the room. And my mom got mad at me, and she was like, Thomas, you're such a bad fan. You're always getting so mad, blah, blah, blah. And then I remember her yelling from the other room saying, when Selleck scored that first touchdown, she said, Thomas, here they come. And I went back in, and we're still down 2 scores. I was like, Mom, we're not going to win this game. And then they scored again. And then I came back into the room and watched them go ahead and walk it off. That was my best memory. That was a lot of fun.
That was a great. That would probably be my number one. But I'm going to give you a different one, just to add. Back in the day, the Eagles, under Buddy Ryan, they needed, I think, the win to win the division, and they were playing the Giants in overtime, and they decided to kick a field goal on third down. They kick the field goal, it gets blocked. Clyde Simmons picks up the ball and runs it in for a touchdown. The Eagles go to kick it, Giants block it. Clyde Simmons was blocking on offense for the field goal, picked it up and ran it in, and the Eagles won in overtime. That was the miracle that nobody talks about.
Yeah, see, I think I might have been too young for that one. I have no memory of that one.
Yeah,
no memory of that one. I'm trying to think back to some other ones here. I have it pulled up. I can't. It's hard to see.
I would say the Westbrook one where he basically saved the season.
What year was that? Really 2006, 7?
I want to say 2000. No, God, I think it was like I want to say 02, 03, something like that. I
don't know. I didn't realize they had back-to-back overtime games in 2005 and then the start of 2006. How about that? I did not know that.
The Eagles beat them in overtime, I think, in the playoffs.
Yes.
It was a wild card round.
I think so too. Yep. Yeah. A lot of good matchups there. A lot of good
I remember that Deshaun punt return. That was the first time my father-in-law ever really heard me just lose it and just curse up a storm. He's like, "Who is this person?" Because I was so mad.
That's a good story. That's a really good story.
Yeah.
Someone just said Maddox update. We just said the Maddox update is that Maddox is out. He's officially out. He's not playing.
But they said he's moving around a little bit, so that's good.
Okay, I did not see that. That is good. Do you think he plays in the NFC title game? If you had to bet on it?
No.
Because I think he plays in the Super Bowl. I think because he has
Super Bowl
4 weeks from this weekend or 3.
Yeah, I think Super Bowl, but I don't know about NFC Championship game.
Yeah. Hey, Thomas Mott, who's your favorite Eagles player ever? My first ever Eagle jersey was Terrell Owens, actually, believe it or not, because I thought he was so much fun in 2004 or 2003. But my favorite player was Brian Westbrook. Massive Brian Westbrook fan. I've tried to get Brian Westbrook on my show so many times because I've hosted a couple radio shows with Hugh Douglas, and Douglas obviously played on the Westbrook teams. I've tried to get Brian Westbrook on the show, and for whatever reason, can't seem to get him. But he was easily my favorite Eagle of all time.
I met Brian Westbrook his rookie season.
Did you really?
It was I was living in Maryland. And Brian Mitchell had just left the Eagles to go to the Giants, but he was having some charity event. And I knew somebody that had an extra ticket, and they were like, "You want to go?" So I went. And we're sitting there, and Brian Mitchell's making drinks and stuff, and Westbrook comes walking in. So I went over to him, and I was like, I think he had a great rookie year, blah, blah, blah. Talked to him for a minute. He was a real nice guy, real quiet at the time. That was his rookie year. And then McNabb was supposed to show up, and he didn't, and all the players were pissed off because he stood him up.
Right.
So it was kind of funny. But
I was supposed to go to a Michael Vick football camp back whenever I was in middle school, and it was like pitched as Michael Vick is going to be there. They had a couple other NFL players, like kind of some C-tier NFL players, but Vick was going to be at this camp. And I was a quarterback in middle school, and I was not very good. But I went for Vick. I bought a Vick jersey just to have him sign it. This was during his run as the Eagles, probably 2010, 2011. And we got there, and there were probably 300 kids at the camp, and they announced over the loudspeaker that Vick was not going to be there. And it was like, really, guys? Really? He's not going to be there? Like, he didn't even get on the flight. They said he didn't even, make the trip to come. And yet we all had already paid, so he stayed. I'm trying to think if I met any other Eagle players besides Hugh Douglas. I met Hugh. I don't think I have. I don't think I've met any other Eagle players in terms of when they were actually playing. I can't think of any. Cannot think of any.
There was quite a few players. There was that charity event it was half of them were Washington players and ex-Redskins and a lot of ex-Eagles. I met guys. I met Trotter once.
Really?
I mean not nothing big, but just got guys autograph.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. When I was young, we used to go to camp when Reggie and Clyde and all those guys were there. So I got to see them. But as far as meet and spend time, Brian Mitchell and Westbrook were the two.
And Westbrook,
really.
I got to interview I interviewed Jeremiah Trotter a year and a half ago, but it was on Atlanta radio because his son plays for Clemson, and it was something to do with Clemson in terms of interviewing him. So I didn't even get to ask. There was zero Eagle questions allowed. It was like focusing on his son and Clemson. It was like, okay, so I've technically talked to him, but it does not count because it was a radio interview at all. At all.
I used to call G Cobb all the time on WIP. I used to call him all the time. Yeah. Yeah, I always used to call.
I think Hugh Douglas is starting at WIP soon. I think he's back up in Philadelphia right now. That was like a big announcement
he was there before. Yeah, that's cool. I used to like they used to have a round table. It'd be Trotter, Hollis Thomas, him, and it would be interesting hearing like the perspective of McNabb Owens and that whole debacle that went on there. You know, it's interesting the things they say about McNabb. Really is.
Do you think that they like genuinely didn't like him? Is that kind of the vibe that you got?
No, I think they liked him, but from what it sounds like McNabb just did his own thing. Like he would go to Arizona in the offseason, he would work out, he was always big about putting on weight and throwing, and the Eagles were like, no, we need you here working on your footwork, on your on your fundamentals, and he didn't do it. So it sounds like as he got older in his career, just listening to them, it sounds like he got more alienated from the rest of the team kind of.